Matt Whitaker, the acting Attorney General, has yet to do anything to curtail the special counsel as best we can tell. But of course, that I think is as a result of the left specifically targeting him. Now, as I've discussed before here, the left has suggested that the presidential appointment of Matt Whitaker as acting Attorney General is unconstitutional. And to be fair, there are some conservative intellectual types who agree with that. But to be clear, the left is only concerned about this is because they realize that Whitaker now runs, or at least in theory, supervises the Mueller special counsel operation. Although regulatorily, this is why it's an outrageous unconstitutional abomination, the special counsel cannot be supervised day to day by the person who appointed him, the Attorney General, or Rod Rosenstein when he was running it. So regulatorily out of control special counsel. So this weak tea Cohen plea deal, who's announced the day the president's leaving the country, and in the middle of a foreign policy crisis, another one with Russia, the DOJ, oh no, we'll interfere with the president's ability to conduct foreign policy. We don't care. Whitaker hasn't done anything, and because I think he's been scared off by the left here. We filed a brief earlier this week, which leads me to my next discussion point here. In Maryland court, there's a lawsuit. Frankly, I forget what the lawsuit initially was about. Well, anyway, the 9 government defendants, and when you sue the government or government agents. Let's say you sue the Justice Department or the Office of Attorney General. You're not suing Jeff Sessions or Matt Whitaker or Secretary Pompeo in their personal capacity. You're suing the office. You're suing the government. And what happened is you had the Justice Department, the Attorney General is one of 9 defendants in this Maryland lawsuit, but it was being pursued by the state of Maryland. The government came in and Sessions was fired or asked to resign by President Trump. So they substituted Jeff Sessions with the name Matt Whitaker. Now Maryland, as using this to try to litigate the issue of whether or not the laws governing the selection of the acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker are constitutional or not, or whether President Trump complied with them or not. Complete abuse of the court process. And what happened is all these other left-wing organizations came in and left-wing run states came in to support this effort. So what happened is the Justice Department is making an administrative change in the way the case is captioned, and the Maryland Attorney General is trying to make a constitutional issue out of it. And so Judicial Watch filed an amicus brief highlighting this abusive court process by these politicians who are just out to get Whitaker and scare him off from supervising Mueller properly. That's what this is about. It's not about, and there may be people who have serious concerns that you can't appoint an acting Attorney General for a long period of time, 210 days, however temporary, without a Senate confirmation. I mean, as I've disclosed and discussed with you, it's been done since the beginning of the country. But we can have good faith disagreements there, but the left isn't doing this in good faith. They're trying to keep Mueller, they're trying to keep Whitaker back on his heels so he can't do the right thing in supervising Mueller or frankly shutting him down. And so we filed this brief the other day, and it's a good brief. I encourage you to read it in its entirety online. And we argue that the state of Maryland's naked attempt to wage a political battle in the courts should be denied. We argue that the appointment is valid, and the Maryland Attorney General misstates the law that Rod Rosenstein, this is what they wanted to do. They wanted Rod Rosenstein to be appointed Attorney General. They're saying the way the law reads that Rod Rosenstein needs to be appointed. And that's not the way the law reads. So this isn't even a close legal issue in my view. The Attorney General Succession Act in no way mandates that the Deputy Attorney General becomes the acting Attorney General. According to Judicial Watch, the state of Maryland's motion for an injunction also fails procedurally because its lawsuit is against Attorney General Sessions in his official capacity as Attorney General, an office he no longer holds. The lawsuit is not against him in his personal capacity. There's nothing for the court to do. The substitution of Whitaker's name is automatic. And there's really something here, because the Attorney General for Maryland is Mr. Frosh, Brian Frosh, F-R-O-S-H. And this is what Frosh said about Whitaker when he filed this lawsuit. This guy, Mr. Whitaker, has extreme views, and that's dangerous in itself. D.C. Attorney General Karl Racine, yeah, the City of District of Columbia has an elected Attorney General, is leading the coalition of left-wing states that is calling Trump's appointment of Whitaker illegal, unconstitutional, or runs counter to the rule of law. And then Maryland's own lawyer in the case is pursuing a certain aspect of this before the Supreme Court as well. So this is a well-coordinated left-wing effort to undermine the ability of the acting Attorney General to do his job. And so what Judicial Watch has done is we also filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, or wherever the Maryland public equivalent of it is the Public Information Act, to the Maryland Attorney General's office to figure out what's going on here. But anti-Trump politicians shouldn't be allowed to misuse the courts to advance their political agenda. And I hope the courts deny Maryland's claim here. But you know, I tell you, you had all these powerful interests on the other side, and it's a little Judicial Watch who comes in to uphold the rule of law here. But it's again not about Whitaker. It's not about the president's ability to appoint Whitaker. It's not about the Constitution. It's not about the rule of law. It's about allowing Mueller to operate without any checks and balances to target Trump and try to destroy his presidency and turn him out of office before the next election. That's what this is about. But someone's got to do the hard battles in court to protect the rule of law here. So it's interesting in this case where the underlying legal question isn't necessarily make you think about, oh, this is about the Russia investigation, but it is. And you need expert lawyers like Judicial Watch is blessed with to go into court and argue all the issues necessary to protect the rule of law.